Happy Wednesday evening, everybody. Welcome to the OHIO podcast discussion, roundtable discussion show on this hump day. Good to have all of you with us one more night. That's all that's left tonight and tomorrow morning to get into the OHIO podcast special men's bracket mayhem challenge. Winner gets a 1 year subscription over to Patreon. Link is in the description below. Do not miss your opportunity, my friends, to get yourself some sweet swag. The free magazine will be sent to you. And if you're already a member, Knoxville Nate said, you know what? I might just send you some memorabilia signed, autographed by some former Buckeyes. Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, wherever you download your podcast, thank you so much for doing so. We really do appreciate all of you. And if you're watching this and you thought, man, it'd be nice to listen to these guys sometimes, you can do that. Download us wherever you download your podcast. Just look up the OHIO podcast. You'll find us there. Joining us this evening for tonight's roundtable, that's King Buckeye. That's Knoxville Nate. That's the Schrock Star. And you are you. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching this after the fact, leave us a comment down in the comment section below. Alex, tell everybody who you are and where they can follow you.
First and foremost, I just can't wait to get my signed memorabilia from Knoxville Nate after I win this bracket challenge. That's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to see what it is. It's going to be really exciting. Anyway, I'm Alex Bryan, a.k.a. King Buckeye. You can find me on Facebook, Alex Bryan, obviously, very generic name. Good luck finding me. Everywhere else, I go by my Xbox gamer tag, FlyDog92. You can find me there, or you can just find me here, where we talk ball. So,
Knoxville, tell everybody who you are, where they can find you.
My name is Knoxville Nate Schmidt. I am from Ohio. I live in Knoxville now. You can find me on X at NMSTN4U. And as Eric just said, if you are a winner, I will allow you to pick out your 8x10 of choice out of whatever I've got here in the office, and I'll send it to you. So get on there, make your picks, and win it. Win the whole dang thing, folks.
RDCB said it's a signed mug from Chris. You're not too far off with mug tonight, based off of what we were talking about before we went live. We'll get to that maybe in the after show. Shockstar, tell everybody who you are and where they can follow you.
Sean Schrock. You can find me on Facebook or you can find me on X at Sean Schrock 45. And every Monday I do a podcast called the Buckeye Zone with Knoxville Nate and EJ Underwood. Every 6:45 every Monday. Come check us out, man, because it's off the hook.
Sean, tell everybody about Friday night. What we got going on Friday night over on Patreon.
This Friday night, we are going to watch the 2002 Ohio State and Cincinnati game. EJ Underwood will be joining us to talk about the game, break down some plays, tell some stories. And we've been, Eric's been doing kind of like a classic game watch. So we decided to not only show these games, but we're going to get former players to come on with us to watch the games with us and breaking down a few plays and tell some stories about the game. So I am very excited because we have about 5 or 6 people already lined up to do this after EJ. So it's going to be fun.
Hey, man, thanks for being green. He says the OHIO podcast is always off the hook. That's right, my man. I am Buckeye Boggs, a.k.a. the Podfather, better known as Eric. You can find me on Facebook at Eric Boggs. You can also follow me over on the X at the OHIO Pod. And, gosh, we're everywhere. But I don't do social media personally. I just do it for the OHIO podcast. So you'll never see me anywhere on social media. I despise it if it's not doing the podcast stuff.
now, Eric, you're around educating Wolverines just like I am. So.
But I do it from the perspective of this podcast.
Still though,
I really ruffled some feathers. Can I read you guys a Wolverine comment tonight?
Please do.
Please do.
Oh my! So I reposted a portion of the show from the other night, and where we talked about Kyle Whittingham, and basically just where he, what he's going to have to overcome and does he understand the rivalry? Because he made this comment like I've got a taste of it. So we dove into that. This is from Retriever Man. You know him? Okay. This is
I do.
Retriever, whoever that is. I don't care. If you're not going to put your real name out there, or at least your podcast, if you do a podcast, I know who you are. It's hard for me to take you serious, but I digress. Ryan Day's father passed away very, very tragically. Ryan Day is a good man, though I hate his team. I'll never forget when you freaks told him to follow in his father's path after he lost in 2024. I remind myself of this every time I hear Buckeyes criticizing anything about our program. There is no lower form of life than your average Buckeye. So he's going to take one comment by one idiot on Twitter who made that comment, and he's now applied it to the entire fan base.
It was probably a Wolverine fan who pretended to be a Buckeye.
It was a Buckeye guy who said he got called out by a lot of people. He got raked over the coals by this fan base, and that's what I had to remind this guy was. Here's the thing, dude. Like that comment made by that individual that you speak of, applying that to the entire fan base is ridiculous. That guy is the scum of the scum. He's lower than you, Retriever Man, whoever you are. So I looked at that and thought, how charming that when we trigger you guys based off us talking about reality in your program, you immediately want to apply some scumbag who lives in the state of Pennsylvania, by the way, and apply it to the entire fan base. Yeah. Give me a break, man. That's just asinine. To me, that's like, dude, you just literally walked around with a giant L around your neck because you lost the complete argument right there. But I digress. I get
Wolverine
these people.
Fans do that all the time.
Yeah, I get these people all the time. All the time.
We didn't even say anything that bad about Kyle Whittingham. We were just talking about how he's never experienced being a part of the game before, which is 100% true. That's all we said.
And to our defense, Nate, we also talked about how Ryan Day didn't understand he got a taste of it as the offensive coordinator, but as a head coach, I mean, welcome to reality, right? After 2019 and then them escaping us in 2020, 2021 through 2024, boy, he got a big dose of what this was really all about. So I don't take that guy serious. Anyways, I have a audio clip for you guys tonight. Fellas, this one is interesting. Ryan Day did an interview with ESPN. It was on the what show was this? It was a YouTube interview. Always College Football. Always College Football. It was just posted this afternoon. Ryan Day had some really interesting, there were some good questions, by the way, and some really good answers. I pulled one question and one answer from this 25-minute or so interview that I want you guys to listen to. It's about a 3-minute clip. And then we're going to dissect this in 2 different sections. Really interesting stuff. Check this out, everybody.
Well, it also proves how attractive being a coordinator at Ohio State really is, to go out and convince Matt Patricia and Arthur Smith, hey, come work here. You get to manage your sub XO. You're going to do XO. And as a result, I'll step away. I'll be a little more hands off. I'm going to be more present with the players. How does that manifest on a random, Tuesday morning in the building? Does it feel like you're really more of a true CEO rather than a guy that's so entrenched in the down in, down out play calling? How does that manifest?
Well, like for instance, instead of being in those meetings, install meetings, watching the film, I watch all the practice film, make my notes. We have staff meetings later on in the day, but instead of being in those meetings, thinking about all those types of things, we're on the phone with donors talking about NIL. We're on the phone with Ross talking about, different ways to look at, how we're managing the roster. On the phone, with all types of people. meeting with our personnel department and Mark Pantoni and how we're going to organize that moving forward, restructuring kind of how we want to look at that part of things, because it's really being run like an NFL now in terms of you have your guys who are identifying guys who are currently in college, the portal, like the pro scouting department in the NFL, and then you have the high school recruiting, and then that allows me a lot more opportunity to watch film of those guys, evaluate film, and then also walk down in the weight room, be around our players, get up in the training room, have a bite to eat with them, connect with our creative media, sit down in the training room, just be more present with those folks, make sure that they understand what the expectations are, and then hold them to those expectations. And I think all of that adds up, and allows us, because I've said this before, like when you move up, you have to give up, and that was probably one of the hardest things for me, giving up quarterbacks, as giving up wider, offense coordinator, playing, like calling plays, designing plays. But the truth is, there's just too much going on nowadays to really be in that. Now, we still have to be involved with it and still have to be a big part of what we do. Ultimately, I'm responsible for everything that goes on in the field. But having somebody like Matt and Arthur, and then, by the way, our staff, from when you look at, beyond them, on the offense and defensive side of the ball, are tremendous. And again, I give our board a lot of credit for allowing us to go get the best players. But that to me is the idea, with so much going on at a place like Ohio State, which, the brand, what comes with it, just under 12 million fans. I mean, there's a lot here in the city of Columbus as well.
Yeah, it's as good as you'll find as far as a well-run organization, and the resources you have at your disposal are tremendous. Still got to spend them responsibly, though. I mean, I think it's almost difficult to know that you have resources, but hey, we need to do it the right way.
Woo! There's a lot in that, guys, to dissect. Let's start at the beginning here. He talked about stepping away from the offense to be the CEO. And the first thing he brought up as CEO is talking with donors about NIL, which then automatically went into his I'm calling more recruits type of spiel here. Alex, what do you take away from that particular first part of that answer about him basically saying, as CEO, I am on the phone talking NIL. I'm working with my recruiting staff about transfer portal and about high school kids and recruiting, and I've left kind of the OC, play caller, play design stuff behind. I'm in this now. What do you take of that?
It's incredibly important, and what a lot of people probably don't think about is, we look at Ryan Day and we see that he's the head coach at the Ohio State for the football team, right? And he's the head coach of that team. But we don't really think about the fact that there's a whole other team behind the scenes for this, for the other stuff that goes on for the head coach of an establishment like the Ohio State football program. And it sounds like he's starting to really, especially with Brian Hartline moving on, and now he's got, as you guys were mentioning the other night on the show, the head coach of the offense now with Arthur Smith. He's able to focus more of his attention in the offseason on this stuff, which is incredibly important to the future of the program, as we know. So one of the biggest things he said was, I've learned that as you move up, you have to give up. That is the most key thing he said from that entire clip that we just played. I think a lot of people around him, like Urban, maybe even Lou Holtz at one point said it, or any former coach has probably told him, like, hey, you can't be so involved in these. You have to be the CEO of this team. He's had to learn that the hard way as he's gone on. And obviously last year with promoting Brian Hartline, he kind of had to step back into being overly involved on one side of the ball to kind of crutch it up. Whereas now he's got a head coach of the offense, he can be back in that CEO role. And he's completely right. You have to, as you go up, you have to give up, because there is no CEO out there for any company that doesn't have a whole team below him running everything for him or her. I mean, it's just how it is. You're the CEO. Yeah, you're going to have a hand in the pot and everything, but you hired these people to do these jobs. And his job right now is to focus on getting NIL to be the best in the country, because there's zero reason at Ohio State it shouldn't be. We have the resources to. We don't have oil money like some of these southern schools, obviously, but we have enough money to make this thing the best in the country. So he's going to have to do these things like talking to people about NIL, talking to recruits about NIL, getting that to be functional and to be the best, so we can keep competing at the level we are and getting more championships to Columbus ultimately at the end of the day. So him saying that is incredibly important. Everything he said there is incredibly important. And it gives me a glimmer of hope for Ryan Day going forward. Hopefully, maybe we're past these mistakes. I'm not going to completely buy back in yet. He's got to earn that trust back again after he broke it the last 2 games. But I definitely liked what I heard overall from him there.
Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I think you learn as you go, right? This guy has been a head coach now for, how many years? 7, 8 years. He's learned what works and what doesn't. And I think he's looking back at the differences between 2024 and 2025. Well, what was the main difference? 2024, we had Chip Kelly calling the plays, who was a NFL head coach. He was a college head coach, and he's a tremendous play caller, which has been proven time and time again. And I think in that year, he had the ability to step back and manage the team more as a CEO than he has in other years, including last year, where, Brian Hartline kind of had training wheels on him. And then, the last 2 games, obviously, I think with Brian moving to South Florida, I think Ryan Day got more involved in the play calling and maybe ignored some things that he probably shouldn't have. And that's why we lost the final 2 games of the season. So I think, you learn as you go, and I think he's taken that to heart, and I applaud him for that. But, the game has also changed, right? It's so different now. We've got Texas A&M, we've got Texas, we've got Oregon, we've got teams that are just spending money to get players, our players, other teams' players, high school players, whatever. And so it's a constant job now of retaining your own guys, getting guys from other teams, getting high school guys. I mean, you could spend your entire day just working on that. So I think it's very important that he manages that as the head coach, as well as, manages the funding, because we've got to get a little bit creative up here in Columbus. As Alex mentioned, we don't have a big oil guy that just has billions upon billions to hand us. We've got to get it piecemeal from people, that are fans, people that are donors. And so I think it's important that he focuses on that. And then, we're going to see an overhaul in how teams are formed. I mean, I don't think that they're just going to go out and get 30 guys every year from high school and then train them for a year and then give them to someone else. I think we'll see more of the team built from the portal and more energy spent on retention and that kind of thing. And I think it's very, it's good to see that he understands that and that he's learned from what, successes he's had and also the failures.
Sean.
I really, applaud him, because look how much college football has changed since he started till now. I mean, when he first got the head coaching job, he really didn't have the NIL where he had to, do all this. And if he doesn't, I mean, what do we always say? You have to adapt or you will die. I mean, look at Dabo Swinney. He has not adapted to the new college football system. And look at where Clemson's program is, man. So I know Ryan Day doesn't want, he's got too much pressure on him to let this get down to, where Clemson's at. So I'm glad that he's smart enough to say, hey, I need someone that can run the offense without me being there. I need someone that can run the defense so I can be everywhere and do these other things. So I applaud him. He's doing a great job, and I think we are built for success, not only for this year but the oncoming years.
I titled tonight's show Ryan Day's Master Plan. I think Ryan Day has solidified in his head, and I can pinpoint the moment that it dawned on him that he needed to make a change. It was during the pregame press conference of the Cotton Bowl against Missouri. And Eli Drinkwitz is sitting right beside him. They're maybe 10 feet from each other, if that. And the media from Columbia, Missouri, asked Eli Drinkwitz, who that year had given up play calling for the first time as head coach of Missouri, what the benefits were that year of him trusting in somebody to call the plays and why that worked. And Eli's answer was, I was doing a disservice to my team by wearing too many hats. And you could see the look on Ryan Day's face. The moment he said that, it was like the light bulb went off. Holy crap, I am too. And then Eli went out there and our offense was dog poop, and they beat us that bowl game. And it was like Ryan Day was like, I've got to make that change. But Ryan Day had, I won't call it an issue. I will say Ryan Day had a problem with handing over play calling. And he admits that in this clip. That was hard for him to do because the whole reason why he even got this job, which you guys didn't hear this, but the question before this, Ryan Day says the whole reason why Gene Smith even offered me this job is because I was a good offensive coordinator. I have to learn how to be a good head coach. I was never a head coach before that moment. And this was a difficult job to learn how to be a head coach. He admits this. So Chip Kelly comes in, a man he trusts to call plays. What was the result of that? A national championship.
And a bad loss to Team Up North.
Well, there was some bumps in the road. I will admit that.
The Oregon game's whatever. It's that one that bothers me.
Yeah, exactly. But the final outcome was a national championship. Last year, I think Ryan Day did not trust Brian Hartline.
No. Not fully. Somewhat.
And he has glowingly, in multiple interviews, talked about getting a former NFL head coach and play caller to be his offensive coordinator, as he's calling it, the head coach of the offense. So I would like to present to you guys, I want you guys to dissect this. Is the master plan here from Ryan Day moving forward to make sure he has in place as coordinators people that he can fully trust and walk away from that room and say, I 100% trust the decisions you make as a coordinator over all those rooms on that side of the ball so that I can go be this CEO, this fundraising guru, this recruiting expert, this NIL transfer portal man that's going to keep that flow of players coming into this program so that you guys, the head coaches of the offense and defense, can go out there and win us another national championship through your sides of the football. Do you think that's what's between his ears, Alex?
For me, it's a hesitant yes. And I say that because obviously we've seen Ryan Day learn from some mistakes, and we thought he had learned from others and then just made them again. So it's a hesitant yes for me. And I don't necessarily think that he's looking to find an ex-NFL head coach every single time to fill these spots either. I think that's just how it came to be with Patricia, how it came to be with Arthur Smith. Like you guys touched on it the other night. Arthur Smith wasn't even on the table, and then all of a sudden he sees him on the table and goes, oh, maybe I can get that guy. I think as long as it's a coach with a proven track record as either a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator that they can play call and they can do it without the head coach holding their hand, I think that will suffice enough. Now, obviously, if it's an ex-head coach, that's just a bonus that because they've ran a whole team by themselves before. So that's a little bit of an extra safety net for Ryan Day there. But yeah, I think I think this one he had to learn the hard way. We've touched on it before. He had to promote Brian Hartline because he didn't want to lose him before he was ready to, and I think we still lost him before he was ready to lose him. Like I thought after next year, Brian Hartline was as good as gone, but I think he had to do that, and now he's learned from it. Like, gosh, I cannot put myself in a position again where on either side of the ball I have to hold his hand. I can't put myself in that position again. I have to have guys who have experience play calling on either side of the ball and that they can run this thing. And I don't have to be constantly, because even with Jim Knowles, we heard the rumblings after that Oregon game. He had to like say, hey, we gotta go in a different direction with this. And then that caused a little tension between both of them, which ended up being Jim Knowles' exit at the end of the year. So, but I think I hope with the Arthur Smith hire that this is the first year that he has two coordinators where he can completely trust them, things go smoothly, and he can just be that CEO, because he needs to continue to be that from now on, or else if he has to revert back to holding somebody's hand, that's where things are going to go off the rails. That's where he's going to get tight in coaching and the losses are going to come. So hopefully the hesitant yes for me turns into a full-blown yes, but I'm on a believe it when I see it thing with Ryan Day again.
Nate?
Yeah, I mean, this is tough, right? The college game has gotten a lot like the NFL game, and a lot of guys, especially new coaches in the NFL when they're first hired, especially if they're coordinators that have gotten their first time as a head coach, a lot of times they want to continue calling the defense, or they want to continue calling the offense because that's what they've done, and that's the reason they got the job. And so they want to continue that. I mean, if you look at the Lions this past year with Dan Campbell taking back over the play calling duties. Now, I don't think he wanted to do that, but at some point he felt like he had to. And, I think Ryan Day's kind of gone back and forth with that, and I think he feels like his job is better suited to be a manager, to be a CEO, than to be taking the play calling back over in the middle of the season and doing that. So in order to do that, you have to have people that you trust. Arthur Smith, whether you like him or you don't like him, he has been a good play caller. I mean, when he was at Tennessee, I mean, he made Ryan Tannehill look good. That's all I need to know, because Ryan Tannehill's trash. And he had some pretty dang good numbers, especially I believe it was 2021, 2022. And I'm not saying that was all Arthur. I think it helped having Derrick Henry back there for sure. But you still have to call plays and stack them, and do a good job in that regard. And I think he learned a lot too by bringing in Matt Patricia. Some people didn't like that hire when he did it, but he was confident in him. He brought him in. He handed that defense to him, and I didn't see the same kind of conflict that there was with old Jimmy Knowles. I think he kind of handed the defense to Patricia and let him work it. And, the defense was not the problem last year. It certainly wasn't. The problem was mainly the red zone offense, where we ranked 48th in college football. And, we could toss the blame around all over the place for that. I attribute it mainly to play calling. The offensive line obviously wasn't the greatest we've ever had at Ohio State. We had a young quarterback. But if you go back and you really watch the tape, which hopefully we'll be able to break that down for you some here in the offseason, I think it was a lot to do with the play calling. And that's why, we ranked 48th in the red zone offense. And that's where you have to get it right, is in the red zone. Because if you get down there and then you can't score, like we did a number of times, what the heck are you doing? You're kicking field goals. When you're inside the 15 on first down, or inside the 10 on first down, or in our case, you're missing field goals when you're getting a first down inside the 10. That's where you can lose football games. So hopefully, he could do this and step back and let these guys go and still, manage it, still keep his hand on the pulse of both the offense and the defense, but trust these guys to make the right calls and to get us in the end zone.
Sean?
I think he learned from last year that more than likely we'll probably never see another coordinator get elevated that's never called plays before. I think he wants an adult in the room that can handle the room with him not being there. And I mean, I know he had to do that with Hartline, or Hartline was going to leave, and he didn't want to lose him because of his recruiting and everything he's done for the program. So he wanted to, give Brian a shot, but he had to be by his side a lot, and he had to kind of hold his hand, and that took away from the other stuff. And I think he's not going to let that happen again. I think he gets lucky that both those guys are former head coaches in the NFL. But I mean, he's going to go get a coordinator that he trusts, that can run the offense and the defense, where he doesn't have to step in anymore.
He did it to himself, Sean. I get why he made the decision. We all agree, hey man, you didn't want to lose him. He's an important recruiter. But he did it to himself, and I think Ryan Day has come to grips with that and come to terms with that. Got a couple great comments. One comment, one question that goes with this conversation I'm going to pull up. This is from Ed. He says it ruined his relationship with Chip. I think that's true.
I don't think it totally is. I think their relationship got a little damaged from it, but I think they just realized as grown men, hey, while it worked out in the end, we won a natty together. I don't think our personalities as coworkers works.
I agree. That's a better way of explaining that. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's ruined.
Yeah,
I would say it definitely changed.
Yeah,
it definitely changed. You guys agree with that? Sean, Nate, either one?
Yeah, it's going to happen too. I mean, this is tough business, man. I mean, especially when they always say don't go into business with your best friends. I mean, there's a reason people say that, because it can screw up your relationship big time. Even more so like family. If you go into business with their family.
That was his former head coach too.
Yeah,
so there was
and his mentor. He was pretty close to being family. I mean, he coached him. He brought him up as a coach, and so I think it was a tough year. Yeah. Now, we all just look at the end result and are like, hey, they won the national championship. Surely they're going to love each other, and Chip's going to come back now that the thing at the Raiders didn't work out. Well, we all saw that didn't happen, and I think that's because there were, some tough conversations, and especially after that Michigan game, everybody had to look deep and look at themselves in the mirror. And as a lot of the players said, and as even Ryan Day said in several interviews, they had to have the tough conversations. And sometimes, these guys have big-time egos. And you go in there and you say, Chip, your play calling was trash in this game. And it was. And it cost them. And luckily they were able to, reconnect the relationship long enough to come back and put together a heck of a run there for a 4-game stretch. But that doesn't mean that Chip's just going to forget everything that everybody said, including Ryan Day. And I do think it damaged, at least their working relationship to where they may not want to do that again. But I don't think they'll never be friends again. I don't know if that's true.
I think it's obvious that they didn't want to do it again. I mean, Chip Kelly had the opportunity to come back to Columbus, and there was neither side was like, yeah, no.
Can you put up Troy's comment about Lincoln Riley? I heard you guys talking about him the other night, and I think this is an important. Lincoln Riley only looks like an average head coach now because at USC it's that we forget he was really good at Oklahoma. He took over for Bob Stoops and did really well, and that's because that league at the time was very weak. He ended up going to USC in a Pac-12 that once he got there, the Pac-12 was just really good. It was loaded with teams like Washington doing well, Oregon doing well, stuff like that. And all of us, even with the Heisman quarterback, all of a sudden, we started seeing like, oh, and now he's in the Big Ten, which is even tougher. So I think he's a good head coach if it's in a weaker league. Like if he went to the ACC right now, he'd probably win it every year. But he is a prime example of what Ryan Day is talking about, where as you move up, he had to give up. And there's coaches like Lincoln Riley. There's coaches like Sarkisian down in Texas who refuse to give up play calling. And we've seen the statistics on coaches who have won a natty with calling plays too on either side of the ball. It's like 2 or 3 of them in the past like 20, 30 plus years. It doesn't happen much because it just doesn't work. You have too many hats you're wearing, and Lincoln Riley needs to learn how to remove some of those hats and wear a CEO hat. And if he never does, he'll lose his job after this year. So,
Well, look at Kirby Smart. He gave up calling defenses.
absolutely.
So,
And it resulted in good things for him.
yeah. So
Now he just stands around the town with a speedometer on his hand, watching, seeing how fast everybody can go.
Yeah.
That was a bad joke. All
He
right,
doesn't do that enough, honestly.
Apparently the police officers do, though.
Oh my God, he has
Have
more
you
arrests than he
seen-
does wins.
There's this. You know how I love college football conspiracy theories. Mika and I have an entire show based around it. The Illuminati. Shout out Mika and her new Illuminati episode that dropped today. Link in the description below. There is a college football conspiracy theory out there that the police officers in Athens have it out for the Georgia football program. That they are being paid by other SEC programs like Alabama and Auburn and Tennessee to make sure that they arrest these players from Georgia.
Well, maybe they need Ann Arbor police because Ann Arbor police do everything to cover for Wolverine football.
Yeah, I don't think that's true because I think after they started killing people with their drag racing on the interstate, maybe they started watching them a little bit closer after that.
Their culture is really something to behold. Like, it's good enough to keep winning 10-plus games a year, but it's bad. It's bad, and it shouldn't work the way it does because it's so bad.
And it shows in the postseason now every year.
It does, yeah.
It gets exposed.
That and then
All right. Great question, Tyler. This will be our last question on this topic because we got another topic we got to get to. It's already almost 8:40. Why do you think Ryan has trust issues with his offensive coordinators? Here's my quick answer, my theory, and then I'll let these guys answer. It's because he was one, and he was a dang good one, and he knows it.
That's my answer.
exactly.
Yeah, there was obviously times when in 2017, 2018 where Ryan Day's offensive coordinating skills were pretty bad. I mean, Iowa for one, Purdue for another. But for the majority of the time, I think there was only like 2 or 3 games where we scored under 20 points with him as OC. I mean, it was an immediate improvement, obviously, over Ed Warner, so we noticed it right away.
Didn't take much.
Yeah, everybody was like ready to crucify JT Barrett, and then all of a sudden under Ryan Day in his last year playing at Ohio State, he had his best career year. So, I totally agree. I think he knows how to drive that car, and if somebody he hires isn't driving that car the way he would, then yeah, there's going to be a problem. So.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there, T. That's one of the reasons why I don't think he's as harsh on the defensive side of the ball with coordinators because he's not a defensive guy. Someone mentioned Jim Knowles earlier. I can't wait to watch that train wreck in Tennessee.
Their fans are doing the same thing Penn State fans did last year, being like, "What are you talking about? Look what he did with you guys. He's going to be so great." I'm like, "Yeah, maybe in 3 years it'll look really, really, really good." But it's not gonna. They're doing the same thing. I
know. And
Knoxville,
here's
I
the
feel
thing.
for you.
Nate, go for it. You're down here. You're down there, man. Go for it.
Buddy, I am no Tennessee fan at all, but I do live here now, and I can tell you that they feel like they spent $3.2 million, and it's going to immediately fix every issue they have. And I can tell you it's not going to. Will their defense be better than last year? It's hard to be worse. If you go back and watch the tape of the Tennessee-Vanderbilt game, where Tennessee gave up 24 points in the second half to Diego Pavia, their defense was certainly bad. But I don't see him, righting the ship right away down here in Knoxville next year. It's going to be a long-term process, and they're not patient down here. Just like we are not up in Columbus, they are not patient down here either, and they'll turn on that dude real quick.
To Don's point about Jim Knowles costing us that Georgia game, while I will agree that was a small part of it, we got to think of the bigger picture here. Once Marv went out, Kirby Smart even said it himself. He immediately adjusted his defense because he didn't have to worry about him anymore, and he knew that we didn't have any other receivers ready. A lot of that loss is not just on Ryan Day and how he coached the end of that game, but on Brian Hartline for not rotating more receivers throughout the year, and their handling of JSN multiple times trying to rush him back. Like that in itself lost that season.
Yeah.
So
we had no wide receivers or running backs in that game by the end of it. So it was
bad. It was bad.
Who was playing running back? Xavier Johnson?
Yeah. Rossi. Mr. Rossi was all the
poorly mismanaged. That entire year was poorly mismanaged.
And I think
down to like his fifth running back. I mean, come on.
And we were playing, like former walk-ons at wide receiver. So I think that's one of the reasons that in 2024, we saw them ride Junkins and Henderson, and they wanted somebody, guys to be fresh at the end of the season, and that worked.
Over on YouTube, I will end the poll question right now and give you guys the results. So is this Ryan Day's master plan to win a second natty? 89% of you said yes. 11% said no. Okay. I thought that was going to be 100%.
Probably because they don't trust Ryan Day. I don't blame them.
45 of you watching right now on YouTube. We appreciate that. Make sure you smash that like button right now, everybody. This is a fun clip. A lot of this has made its way around social media. I'm about 2 days late to get to it, but it's going to be a fun conversation. This is a quick little story Chris Carter had to say about one Caleb Downs.
It's the kickoff before the Oregon game, and I'm standing on the sideline, and I'm standing behind him. I'm reading like I don't know him. I'm like, hey, Downs, number 2, you got to be a bad dude to wear that number. I used to wear that number. I consider myself the best to ever wear it. I mean, he slowly looked over his shoulder and smiled and said, until now. I said, I'm done.
That's great, bro.
Go get it. It's the kickoff before the Oregon game, and I'm standing on the sideline, and I'm standing behind him. I'm reading like I don't know him.
My computer just froze on me.
I was like,
I'm like, it's so good. Let's play it twice in honor of number 2.
Yeah.
My bad.
Not once.
Okay. So
2 times.
This brings up the question. I think the number 2 at Ohio State, obviously the Blocko's got its own significant meaning now.
Number
but
7.
As far as numbers at Ohio State, the number 2 is obviously a huge number, and it's an honor to wear that. So I'm going to throw the question out there. I don't want to do who's the best ever to wear number 2 because that is such a we might have 4 different answers here.
Impossible.
But what's the Mount Rushmore of the number 2 at Ohio State? Alex, I'll start with you. You go. Give me a name.
Just one name or all 4?
Just give me a name. We'll work our way around. We'll work our way through it.
I think the best player to ever wear number 2 at Ohio State has to be Mike Doss.
Yeah.
I think very obvious reasons. He was a champion at every level. I feel like if he had stayed healthy in the NFL, he might have been a multi-time champion. Obviously, he didn't get to play a huge role in that Indianapolis Colts Super Bowl victory, but he was just the perfect captain, especially for that team. And he just exemplified that number. And there's a lot of names that go with that number at Ohio State that are just like insane. But it would be very hard to argue, maybe Downs, but it would be very hard to argue that he wasn't the best to ever wear that.
All right, so number 1, 2 questions for you here, Nate. Number 1, do you agree Mike Doss should be on Mount Rushmore? And number 2, who else would you add?
Mike Doss is one of my, if not my favorite Buckeye of all time. I loved him. I saw him play at Kenton McKinley. I watched him in college. I watched him in the pros. I've met Mike Doss. He was not only an unbelievable player, he was an unbelievable leader. He was a good dude. 3-time All-American. I think he's the best to ever wear number 2, and I agree with Alex 100% on that. And he is definitely on the Mount Rushmore, and to me, he's the best. So, what was the second question?
Who would you
Who
add?
else would you add?
Okay, so just one more for right now.
Just give me one more. Give me one more.
One
yeah.
more. Okay, I'm gonna go with J.K. Dobbins, and the reason is J.K. Dobbins, I think, is one of the more underrated Buckeyes of all time. And I don't really understand it because J.K. was legit as a freshman, and he was unbelievable, his last year, and was good in between. So I don't really understand why he doesn't get the love that he should. But I believe that J.K. Dobbins is the number 2 all-time rusher at Ohio State.
Yep.
Yes.
And we know who number 1 is, right?
Archie Griffin.
The
Okay.
only 2,000-yard rusher, too, in Ohio State
Correct.
history.
So if you've ran for 2,000 yards in a college football season, and then you're at a school like Ohio State, and the only person that's ahead of you in yardage as a running back is the 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, I think you're doing things the right way. And let's be honest, I think he would have been a badass in the NFL if he hadn't, ripped his knee 5 times. Every time he's healthy and out on the field in the NFL, he's good. And I think he was phenomenal at Ohio State. And, I didn't really think about him at first, but the more I thought about it, I was like, I need to give JK some love because he was a big reason why we had a lot of success on offense because I don't remember him getting tackled in the backfield much at all.
He just got a shoe taken off once, that's all.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Sean, do you agree with Mike Doss and J.K. Dobbins? Yes or no?
I did not have JK on mine.
Oh, so we have our first. Okay, but you did have Doss.
I had Doss, yes.
Okay.
I agree with Alex about Doss.
So you have Doss. Who else would you add then?
Terrell Pryor.
Why?
Three-time Big Ten champion. Was phenomenal. Had a great career except for I know he had his that last year where kind of screwed things over, but he's probably one of the best athletes we've ever seen at the school, man. I mean, he had three Big Ten championships as a starting quarterback. He was a phenomenal player, so that's why I chose.
I love Terrell Pryor. He's one of my favorite Buckeyes of all time, but I left him off because we never got to see the best
finale
year. We never got to see the finale. We never got to see what, I think he was just coming into his own that last year, that season where, they were in the Cotton Bowl or the game against
Sugar
Arkansas?
Bowl.
Sugar Bowl, thank you. And I was like, here we go. And I was really excited to see him put it all together. And then we never got to see it. So although I love him, and he's one of my favorites because I loved watching him play, and it irks me that we never got to see the finished product.
Amen.
Don, if we have time, we'll get to this in a second. Okay, I agree with Doss. I might be convinced about Dobbins. Maybe. Terrell Pryor, I'm probably a hard no. The name I have to have on this. I have to. I will go to the mattresses over this one. Chase Young has got to be on this Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
He's on mine.
He is the most physically imposing human being I've ever had the privilege of standing and looking up at.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few men who scare me. That guy scares me. Like, thank God he's on my team, right? Like, dude was in that his last year, his junior year,
unstoppable.
We were talking about this the other night. I've never seen anybody wreck games as much as he did. Like, they were triple teaming him by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And
he was
still making plays. And anybody that can look like a superhero, who's a real human, they deserve to be on the list just for that. He was unbelievable, and I definitely have him on mine.
It's just a shame that him and Nick Bosa didn't get that year together, man.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
He was like the Orlando Pace of the defensive line.
Yeah.
Oh, what a comparison.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right, back to you, Nate. So you have Mike Doss. You have I think all three of us agreed with you.
Yeah, I have Chase Young on mine as well.
Yeah, I've got
Okay,
Chase.
Chase Young.
Mine are all defensive players.
I've got Chase Young. I've got Mike Doss. I had Dobbins, and I have one more.
All right, so you have Mike Doss and Chase Young. Give me a name that we didn't mention that might be on your Mount Rushmore, Alex.
Ryan Shazier.
Interesting.
He's like J.K. Dobbins, like what Knoxville Nate says. He is probably one of the most underrated linebackers in Ohio State history. But honestly, as many great ones as we've had, he was like one of the hardest hitting, most athletic beasts of a linebacker we've ever had. I mean, he was everywhere. And it like the way he tackled, even back in college, I was like, man, you better stop lowering your head or else you're going to get yourself paralyzed. And then what'd he do? He ended up doing that, unfortunately. So, but at the end of the day, he was just everywhere we needed him to be all the time. He made a lot of play. He was so athletic for a linebacker, and I think that he was one of the best to ever wear the number 2 for that reason.
I agree, but I was thinking about this, and I'm like, he didn't wear 2 the whole time.
No, it was 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was 10 to begin with, and some of these guys, like I was thinking Chris Olave also.
Yeah,
but
he didn't
Olave
either.
started off at number 17 and then moved to 2. So I didn't know if we had to be 2 the whole time. And I was going to put Caleb Downs on the list as well, but he was only really here 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
So he transferred in, and so I didn't know if longevity had to go into it. But my fourth, I had Mike Doss, Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins, and then I had Chris Carter, just because he was always number 2.
And see, to counter that, he was only at Ohio State for like what, a year, right? Year or two?
Well, 2. Chris Carter was at 2.
And then he ended up forfeiting his eligibility because he was a dumb kid at the time. So he wasn't there that long either.
I know, that's why I struggled. Whether I kind of had Ryan Shazier too. I had Shazier and Downs, and I was kind of going back and forth between Shazier, Downs, and Carter.
Yeah, it was hard.
And I like Malcolm Jenkins too, bro.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
Malcolm Jenkins was a bad man, and he did a lot of really good things for this football team, and was just steady. He was just always good. He was always making plays, and I think Malcolm Jenkins is another guy that some people don't think of, but certainly deserved to wear that number.
He won the Thorpe Award. He was a Super Bowl champion. I also think Marshawn Lattimore deserves some notability, honorable mention. But I think I put Carter on mine. I think he's the best to wear the number 2.
Chris Carter?
Chris Carter, for sure.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. I mean, I kind of feel like you got to put the guy on her who started the whole trend, right?
Yeah, that's why. That's the other reason I had him on mine.
Like, he's the first one who I think was an All-American to wear number 2 at Ohio State. Sean Gale was before him. He got drafted.
He was a stud.
Dick Fisher got drafted. He wore number 2. He played in the late 30s. And then really there wasn't anybody until the 70s of note. And then Chris Carter came along and he made that number what it is today. So to me, I think we all can agree at least on 3. Mike Doss, Chase Young, Chris Carter.
Mm-mm.
No?
Not Chris Carter for me. He was
Really?
close. He was close. But because he only played a couple years, I just couldn't. And his legacy as a player is more NFL rooted because he's a Hall of Famer. At Ohio State, yes, he was great, but I think there's another player that deserves, who played the same amount of time, really, as a starter, but who deserves more of it, and that would be Caleb Downs. He would be my 4th. Mine's all defense. I think that number is way more synonymous with defensive players for Ohio State than offense, even though some good offensive players have worn it.
All right, so here's my dilemma. If I'm going to make a graphic tomorrow, and I'm thinking about doing this.
Yeah, you should.
I'm thinking about putting Chase Young, Chris Carter, Mike Doss, and then I'm struggling between Caleb Downs, Michael Jenkins, and J.K. Dobbins. Now, you all know how much I love Chris Olave, but
Yeah.
I can't put him on Mount Rushmore. I mean, just to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
So that being said, chat, we're going to need your help here. Let me go to the.
Let's make a poll. Let's make a poll and vote on it.
Yep, doing it right now.
But
Put Kenyatta Jackson on there just for laughs, you know.
No, we're going to talk about him next, though, while the poll's going on here. Okay. Who should be the fourth?
Hey, shout out.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to me and Nate's co-host, EJ Underwood. He worked for a little bit too, man. Want to give EJ a shout out, man.
I'm okay with putting Chris Carter. He was like fifth on my list when I was rattling my brain, because I was like, man, he is probably. I mean, he's obviously when he retired from the NFL, he was like fourth in every category all the time. And had he had Joe Montana as his quarterback his whole career, he probably finishes number one in everything. So he probably. Yeah. I argue with people all day that he would have been better statistically than Jerry Rice had he had a consistent quarterback that was good.
All right. I just added the poll over on YouTube, everybody. You can now vote who should be the fourth on the Mount Rushmore of number 2. J.K. Dobbins, Malcolm Jenkins, Caleb Downs. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think recency bias is going to play into this. Probably. I think Caleb Downs is probably going to win this poll. And I'm okay with that, because I think if we put this out there tomorrow, it's going to create discussion, and I love that, by the way. And some of the old school people, especially on Facebook, who are probably going to disagree with this, or you're going to hear people say, if Caleb Downs doesn't get on, but they see Mike Doss on, they're going to be like, "What? But Downs was better than Doss." Like, you're just going to hear people say things like that. No. This is going to be really interesting to see how this goes down. But I enjoyed this little exercise. Maybe we might need to do this with more numbers. The first one that comes to my head is 36. That's like the linebacker number of Ohio State history, baby.
Real man. That's what pops in my head.
Cousino.
Yeah. When I see 36, man. And you know, I see number 2. What pops in my head is Chris Carter.
Yeah.
That's because I'm older, I think, you know.
I think Mike Doss when I see 2. That's why that's one of the reasons, you know, that I wore number 2 was Mike Doss, man. He was just legit.
Yeah. If that isn't your first answer for number 2, you're too young, bro.
Yeah.
You're too young, bro.
Sit this one out.
Yeah.
We were wondering when this was going to happen at the beginning of the show. Remember that?
Yeah.
When RDB was going to add this name. There it is.
Well, maybe, you know, our current president likes to do outlandish things. Maybe he'll add his face to Mount Rushmore, and then we can get 5 from now on, right?
You know what? That might actually benefit us.
It would benefit us, yeah.
I'm cool with that. A lot of times they're like, you get there and you're like, who's the 4th guy? And there's always, you know, discussion about the 4th. Yeah. Well, if we just add a 5th.
What I like about that idea more than anything is then we could put Mount Rushmore up and we can get him talking, and Alex can be the voice.
Look at my face. It's very big, very chiseled, like my own face. Very nice. Super great.
4's not enough. We need 5.
Yeah, we needed 5. I would put my face over all of their faces if I could, but, you know, I have to be fair.
Wait a minute. What number was Clarett? He was 13, wasn't he?
Yeah.
13, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, where would he rank? In the running back room? Oh my gosh. I've wondered that for my whole adult life. If he would have played all 3 years at Ohio State, what would have been?
Yeah. I like the other idea, 7. There's been a lot of really good number 7s.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a good one to do.
Gamble, Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
Didn't Galloway wear that?
Joey Galloway.
Joey
Galloway's got to be up there.
All right. In closing, one of the things that brought all this up. Y'all know who's wearing number 2 this year at Ohio State? The 2 players who are wearing it. Kenyatta Jackson Jr. on the defense.
And Legend Bay.
Legend Bay on the offense got number 2 in year number 1.
Wow.
That's got to be saying something. I don't think they'd just give him that if they had no clue about him.
Is it sad that I think Legend Bay will do more service to that number than Kenyatta? By a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see how Kenyatta does this year. Because here's the thing. He got called out by a former Buckeye on the radio.
Yeah.
And literally said, "Dude, you're gonna wear that number on the defensive line. You best be getting double-digit sacks."
Who said that?
It was on the morning show.
Tyvis Powell.
Tyvis Powell, thank
Was
you.
he not wearing number 97? That's a big number too when it comes to
that's
the Bosa.
Bosa's. He went from Bosa to
He didn't live up
Yeah.
to that one really much. I mean, he had a better year last year, but he's got to step it up.
He better have 10 sacks because the guy opposite him had double-digit sacks and he did not. So I was kind of surprised he changed his number when, like you said, he didn't live up to 97, and now we're going to Chase Young.
This is funny to me. We've got some stuff happening in the chat. Devin Paul be
Thank
RDCB to the number. to the
Somebody
name.
heard me before the show. I was waiting for this name. Thank you.
It wasn't
Whoever that is.
RDCB.
Julian Saints championship stash.
Who is leaking our audio pre-show?
Well, okay. So the other night, I didn't have the pre-page pulled up, and we recorded 1.5 minutes Sunday night of us doing the pre-talk before the show started. Everybody
nice.
heard it.
Wow.
I get this phone call at 10:30 at night. I'm laying in bed. Chris goes, "You need to go to YouTube right now." Thankfully, we didn't say anything bad.
Wow. Crazy.
But you never know, because those pre-show meetings, man, most of the time we're just like, "Hey, what's going on? Any
we're just
questions?
shooting
All right, let's roll." But you never know. Sometimes people can get a burr up their butt about somebody or something, and they let it slide.
After show,
Number 7. Someone said we should do number 7.
We should.
Let me go pull up number 7 real fast. I have a website that's got every player who ever wore every number.
That number is to the offense what number 2 is to the defense.
Ooh,
It really is.
interesting. All right, here we go. Cornelius Green.
Yep, I like him.
That's a pretty good guy. Joey Galloway.
Joey Galloway's
Oh,
on
my
the
wife would be
Rushmore.
mad if I don't mention him. Joe Germain. She loves her some Joe Germain. Chris Gamble.
Yep.
Ted Ginn Jr.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, Teddy.
Dwayne Haskins. Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
how can you not put Simba on there?
Yep.
Oh, man, that's going to be – and then it kind of dies after that. But, wow, that's 5 tough guys right there.
Yeah.
I mean, Corny Green's really the first African-American quarterback at Ohio State.
He was very
So-
important for those
He
teams.
He was very good.
He was good.
He's very good.
I mean, when you get the offensive MVP over Archie Griffin, I mean, that says something about,
His name's immortalized over there in Pasadena.
He didn't have national recognition, but Sonny Gordon was really good too.
Yeah.
Sonny-
Played from 84 to 86. Was
Very true.
he got drafted in the NFL. He was all Big Ten. He was a team captain in 86. Trying to look at any other names jump out at me.
I think Chris Gamble's another guy too.
That's a
very
no-brainer.
underrated. He's
That's
an
a
underrated
no-brainer.
player. He played offense and defense and special teams, and had better numbers than Chuck Woodson in all 3. And I don't think people talk about Chris Gamble enough.
Please come home, Chris Gamble, please.
Yeah, we need.
I
you.
need your autograph, bro, please.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But you're right; it's all offensive guys. There's no one on defense even close to even being mentioned.
Yeah.
It's all offense, and that makes more sense because it was an offensive number. It was a wide receiver quarterback number. Who wears 7 on defense? Like I don't know
I was
anybody.
hoping Jeremiah Smith at some point would switch to 7 just for that reason, but I get it. Keep your own number.
Yeah, I kind of like it when a guy comes in and has a number that no one else has ever really made famous, and they just kind of make it their own. Like when you think of the number 4 now,
It's him.
shout out. You're going to think of Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah,
Who's another number 4?
Santonio Holmes was 4.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's about the only one I could think of.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah's way better than Santonio Holmes. I'm just saying
Yeah.
he was he was the best. And Chris Vance was number 4.
I forget what I was watching, but someone said, Santonio, do not call him San Antonio. And someone went, who called him San Antonio? And it was a teammate.
Because of that Alamo Bowl.
He's like, I called him San Antonio Holmes. Like, what? Call him Super Bowl MVP is what you need to call him.
Man, that catch
He's
was
coaching.
good.
Where's he coaching at right now? He's coaching somewhere.
He's
We're,
coaching
uh,
at some D3 college, I think.
Where
Let me look it
EJ
up real
Underwood's dad went to school at. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
West. He is the
He's at
wide
West-
receiver coach at Central State at Wilberforce.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. All right, let's go find out what the results are, everybody. Oh my gosh, it's freaking tied.
What? No way.
It is.
Do we have
Tied.
to do? We do a tiebreaker then. The panel
It's
do tiebreaker.
between Caleb. It's between J.K. Dobbins and Caleb Downs. We
I
have
vote-
to.
I vote
All right.
Dobbins.
I vote Downs.
Downs.
Break the.
Downs. It's Downs.
Oh,
It's
my
Downs.
God.
Caleb Downs, Chris Carter, Chase Young, Mike Doss. There's your.
We
boys.
get a fifth face on there, and it goes to Dobbins then.
We're still disrespecting J.K. Dobbins.
It's Alex's face on there going, "This is good. This is acceptable."
J.K. Dobbins' face
my-
will go right here. It'll look very great next to the others.
All right, guys, what a great show tonight. We appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Tomorrow is going to be another good one at 8 o'clock. Don't want to miss it. We're going to go head on over to Patreon now for the Super Secret Show. We're going to have a good time over there, everybody. We'll see you over there here in just a few minutes. Until then, you all know what to do. OH.
I
Ayo.
Go Bucks.
Scum still
For the
sucks.
blue.